I used to think long stretches of highway were peaceful. Empty roads, no traffic, no noise except the hum of the engine and the thrum of tires on asphalt. The kind of solitude most people crave. The quiet place where the world feels small and your thoughts feel loud. My job as a night courier relied on exactly that. Hours of darkness, endless miles, almost no human interaction. But after what happened on Route 191, I don't think peaceful anymore. I think unobserved. I think exposed. I think no one will hear you out here. It started on the second night of a 3-day assignment. I was transporting medical supplies to a rural clinic in northern Utah. Nothing unusual, sealed boxes, temperature-controlled cooler, standard paperwork. I left Provo around 10 p.m., expecting to arrive well before sunrise. It was supposed to be an easy run. But around 1:30 a.m., the GPS glitched. Not a small glitch, an abrupt, impossible one. The map spun, recalculated 6 times, froze, then finally displayed a route I swear did not exist earlier. A long, isolated bypass cutting straight through the desert. The message at the top said, "Road clear, fastest route." I should have ignored it. Every instinct in me whispered that something wasn't right. But after 3 hours of dark highway messes with your judgment, the idea of shaving off nearly an hour of driving sounded like mercy. So, I took the turn. The road was a narrow ribbon of cracked asphalt, leading into total blackness. No lights, no reflectors, not even fencing. Just barren desert stretching in every direction. But the GPS insisted this was correct. And at first, it looked like an old service road. Simple, quiet, unremarkable. I drove another 30 minutes without seeing a single car. Not one. At some point, the moon vanished behind thick cloud cover, leaving the world even darker. My headlights felt too small for the emptiness swallowing them. But I kept going. It was still a road, still pointing the right direction. Then the radio crackled. Soft at first, like something brushing over the antenna. The speakers hissed, then cut to static. It reminded me of someone breathing, slow and shaky, pressed too close to a microphone. I muted it. A moment later, the overhead cabin light flickered on. Just for half a second. Just long enough for me to see something in the passenger side mirror. Not a car, not an animal. A shape. Standing perfectly still in the scrub beside the road. I tapped the brakes, heart thumping loudly enough to feel in my throat. I reversed a few feet, angled the mirror to get a better look. Nothing. Just desert. But I knew what I saw, or what I thought I did. Something tall, unnaturally still, not crouched like wildlife, upright, watching. I told myself it was just a shadow, a trick of the light, the kind of illusion that happens when you've been driving too long. The brain wants to put shapes in darkness, faces in shadows. So, I kept driving. 10 minutes later, I saw another one. This time, in the middle of the road, a human outline. Tall, thin, shoulders sloped, not moving. I slammed the brakes so hard the boxes in the back shifted. The truck shuddered to a stop about 30 feet from the figure. My high beams illuminated nothing. The road stretched empty ahead. Whatever I saw, whatever stood there, vanished. My breathing turned fast and shallow. I gripped the wheels so hard my fingers hurt. But the road was narrow, and turning around would be a nightmare. There were no cross streets, no towns, no landmarks, just this narrow strip of asphalt in the middle of nowhere, and my headlights cutting through a void. I pushed forward, slowly. 5 miles later, the GPS froze again. The screen went completely white. Then text appeared. Black, simple, cold. He's off the road now. Keep driving. My stomach dropped. I stopped the truck immediately. This wasn't a glitch anymore. This was communication. Something was manipulating the device. Something was aware of me. And something else was out there. I tried unlocking my phone. No service. No satellite. No bars. Nothing. Just the empty SOS icon staring back at me. The truck engine sputtered. Then shut off. Lights, dead. Radio, dead. Dashboard, dead. Total silence. The type of silence that feels like pressure, like the air thickens, like the world holds its breath. Then I heard it. A soft crunch of gravel. Behind me. Something was walking on the road. Very slowly. Very deliberately. I kept my eyes on the windshield. I didn't turn around. I didn't breathe. The footsteps stopped at the back of the truck. Not beside it, not passing it, just standing there. I swear I felt eyes pressing into me through the metal, cold and curious. My hands trembled violently. Sweat beaded at the back of my neck. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look." Whatever it was, whoever it was, it wanted me to acknowledge it. Then it dragged something along the side of the cargo door, a long, low scrape. Metal on metal. It moved toward the driver's side, slow, scraping the entire length of the truck with something sharp. I locked the doors silently. The scraping stopped directly outside my window. I held my breath. Silence. Then 3 soft knocks on the glass. Not aggressive, almost polite. I stared straight ahead, afraid to blink. The knocks came again, more insistent this time. Then through the static of the radio dead, a voice came through the speakers, a voice so thin, so close, it felt like it breathed into my ear. Look at me. I almost did. I almost turned. Something in the voice tugged at my thoughts, my muscles, like a hook sinking into the back of my mind. A pulling sensation, not physical, but mental. A hypnotic suggestion. Look at me. My jaw clenched. My fingers went numb. Then, as sudden as a switch flipping, all electronics in the truck burst back to life. Headlights, dashboard, radio, everything, like the battery had been resurrected. The figure outside the window didn't move, didn't flinch, but its head turned sharply toward the lights like it was caught off guard. Its shape warped in the glare, wrong somehow, too tall. Arms too long, neck bending at an angle that made my stomach twist. The truck roared alive, and without thinking, I floored the gas. The tires lunged forward, the engine screamed, and I took off down the road as fast as the truck could handle. My mirrors showed nothing behind me. But I knew it wasn't gone.
The GPS flickered back on. New text appeared. "Don't stop again. He's following you now." I drove until the desert blurred, until the horizon looked like a smear of black, until my eyes stung and my throat burned and the road felt infinite. I didn't see him again that night, but I heard him. Every time I slowed below 60, the footsteps returned behind the truck. Quiet at first, then faster. I didn't stop. Not for anything. Not even when the GPS changed its message again. You took the wrong road. He was waiting for someone to choose it. And you did. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. Because I found out what happens on that road if your engine dies again, if your lights go out, if you're forced to stop, and worst of all, I learned what that thing truly looks like when you finally make the mistake of turning your head.
I didn't realize how long I'd been driving after the encounter. The road stretched endlessly into the dark. The horizon swallowed the sky, and every few seconds I checked the mirrors to make sure nothing was behind me. But I didn't need the mirrors to know he was there. I could feel him following. Every time the truck dipped even slightly below 60 miles per hour, it started again. That rhythmic crunch of footsteps on asphalt, too soft to be human, too steady, too deliberate. Like someone running barefoot behind the truck, keeping pace even as I accelerated. The sound never faded, never strained, never faltered. He didn't get tired. He didn't need to. I kept my foot locked on the pedal, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. My breathing was shallow, uneven, like I'd forgotten how to do it. The hum of the engine was the only thing grounding me. The only thing reminding me I was still in a real truck, on a real road, in a real physical world. But it didn't feel real anymore. Nothing about that road felt real. At some point, maybe an hour later, maybe 10 minutes, I couldn't tell, I saw a glow on the horizon. Small at first, like a match in a cave. Then brighter, warmer. A gas station. In the middle of absolutely nowhere. A single flickering canopy light lit the pumps. A rusted metal sign hung half-detached from a bent pole. The store windows were dirty, but the building wasn't abandoned. There was power, light, a faded neon open sign, glowing like a lifeline. My chest tightened with relief. I didn't think. I just turned into the gravel lot. And everything went wrong, immediately. The moment my speed dropped below 50 miles per hour, I heard it. The footsteps. Again. Except this time they were louder, much louder, like something was sprinting down the road and closing the distance fast. I slammed the brakes so hard the truck fishtailed, gravel flying in all directions. The vehicle jerked to a stop under the canopy lights. My heart hammered against my ribs. Silence. The footsteps stopped the instant the truck stopped. The horizon behind me was black, completely empty. But I knew he was out there somewhere in that darkness, watching, deciding. The neon sign crackled overhead, casting a sickly glow on the gravel. I hesitated before climbing out. The air outside felt wrong. Thick, dead, unmoving. The kind of stillness deserts have right before a predator pounces. Still, I forced my legs to move. I stepped out of the truck. The gravel crunched beneath my boots, and I kept my eyes forward, refusing to look at the road behind me. I didn't trust my instincts anymore. They had already tried to turn me around once. They wanted me to look back. I wouldn't. The gas station door creaked open as I pushed inside. A bell chimed overhead, a soft, delicate ding that sounded too cheerful for a place like this. The interior was dim, lit by buzzing fluorescent tubes that flickered every few seconds. The shelves were sparsely stocked with canned foods years past expiration. A few bags of chips hung from rusted hooks. A thin layer of dust coated everything. No one was at the counter. "Hello?" My voice cracked. Nothing. I walked deeper into the store, past the aisles, toward a back hallway where the restrooms were. A faint humming noise came from somewhere near the ceiling, like an old air conditioner trying to breathe. "Anyone here?" I called out louder. The humming stopped. Then a voice answered, but not from the back room, from the store radio sitting on the counter. "You shouldn't have stopped." My blood turned to ice. It was the same voice from my truck radio earlier, the whisper that had told me to look, the voice too thin to be natural, too measured to be human. I backed away slowly, my shoulders brushing against a shelf of dusty snacks. The radio crackled again. "He's close." My heart thudded hard enough to shake my vision. I swallowed. "Who are you?" Static answered first. Then, "Someone who made the same mistake you did." The store lights flickered. All of them. Off. On. Off. The building groaned like it was breathing. Suddenly, the overhead fluorescence buzzed back to life, but the neon sign outside cut out completely. The window went black, turning into a mirror reflecting the inside of the store. And in that reflection, something moved. Tall, thin, silhouetted against the darkness, standing directly behind me. My lungs locked. Every hair on my neck stood up. I didn't turn. I didn't blink. I didn't move. The whisper on the radio sharpened. "If you turn around, he'll reach you before you finish the motion. Don't give him that moment." I stared straight ahead at the counter, my pulse screaming in my ears. The reflection behind me tilted its head. Slow. Curious. Wrong. The fluorescent lights dimmed, as if reacting to it. I forced a breath, barely audible. "What does he want?" The radio hissed. "Don't ask questions, just leave. Slowly. Keep your eyes forward. Do not..." The radio cut off mid-sentence. Not static, not fading, like someone had unplugged it. The store plunged into a heavy silence, except for one sound, a new one. Breathing. Not mine. Right behind me. Wet. Shallow. Hungry. I felt warmth on the back of my neck. Not human warmth. Something colder, heavier, like an exhale from a deep cavern. The whisper came so close to my ear it made my vision blur. "I found you." My throat tightened. Every muscle screamed to run, but I moved slowly, carefully, exactly as the voice on the radio had warned, one step at a time. Eyes forward. No sudden motions, no flinching. The silhouette in the window mirror followed me with its head, not its body, just its head, turning, tilting, watching. I reached the glass door of the gas station. My fingers brushed the metal handle. The breathing stopped. The lights flickered again. The silhouette behind me leaned closer in the reflection, its elongated shape bending forward as though smelling me. I pushed the door open. A long, low moan echoed behind me from inside the store, like a frustrated animal denied a kill. The moment the door swung shut behind me, the neon sign outside flickered back on. Red light washed across the gravel. Red light washed across the road. Red light washed across my truck. I moved fast. I didn't look at the road behind me. I didn't look toward the desert. I didn't look anywhere except the truck. I yanked the door open, jumped inside, slammed it shut, locked it, and started the engine. Footsteps exploded from the darkness. Not slow this time, not steady. Running. Full sprint. The silhouette rushed toward the truck from the side of the building, tall and predatory and grotesquely fast. My headlights hit it for less than a second, but that image burned into me. Arms too long, head tilted, body twitching like a broken puppet struggling to mimic human movement. I floored the gas. The truck fishtailed out of the lot just as the thing slammed into the rear door with a metal warping crash that rattled the frame. I swerved, vision blurring, hand shaking violently. The rear of the truck dented inward, deep, wrong, like something with incredible strength had struck it. I pushed the engine harder. 60, 70, 80. The footsteps faded. Then the GPS came back to life one more time. A new message appeared. You have about 4 hours until he catches you again. The road won't end before he does. Don't look back. My mouth went dry. Who are you? I whispered to the screen. Another message appeared instantly, as if someone or something was waiting for me to ask. The last driver who stopped on this road. The truck shuddered as the desert wind roared around me. Another message appeared. I didn't keep driving like you are. I turned around. That was my mistake. I felt my skin crawl. Then, the final message came. Whatever you do next, don't let him get close enough to whisper. That's when he decides he's yours. The GPS screen went black. The road stretched endlessly ahead, empty and cold. And somewhere behind me, too far to hear, but too close to escape, he was out there, running, waiting, knowing I couldn't stop. Not ever. And then the engine temperature gauge ticked upward, slow at first, then faster, faster, faster. The truck was overheating. I wasn't going to make 4 hours. I might not even make 10 minutes. I woke up to the sound of my own breathing, ragged, uneven, too loud in the stillness of the unseen cabin. For a second, I didn't remember where I was. The dark pressed in from every direction, like the walls themselves were leaning closer, listening. My neck screamed when I tried to move. My hands were numb. My fingers felt like they belonged to someone else. Then the memory returned. The cabin, the photographs, the voices whispering my name, and the shadow outside the window with my face. I forced myself upright, every bone resisting. Morning light filtered through the boards nailed across the window, but it didn't feel like morning. It felt like a trick, the kind of light that didn't warm anything, that only made you realize how cold everything else was. I checked my phone. Dead, of course. I
wasn't even sure how long I'd been asleep. The last thing I remembered was sitting with my back pressed to the far wall, trying to stay awake, trying to keep every sound separate in my head so I could tell what was real and what wasn't. But the exhaustion won. And now, the air felt different, heavier, like something had been moving around while I slept. Maybe it was still here. I listened. Nothing. But nothing didn't sound like safety anymore. Out here, nothing meant everything was holding its breath. I stood, swaying, and opened the front door slowly, half expecting a face to be waiting on the other side. The woods were silent, but wrong. The wind felt too warm. The trees leaned in unnatural angles like they'd shifted during the night. And that was when I noticed the footprints. Not mine. Leading away from the cabin. Leading deeper into the woods. I didn't want to follow them, but I knew I couldn't stay. Something had found me here, something that shouldn't exist, something that moved like an animal but watched like a person, something that used my own voice. I needed to find a road, a ranger station, a house, anything. So I followed the tracks. The further I walked, the more I realized these woods were bent around something, around him or it or whatever belonged to the voice that called my name from the tree line. Every few steps, I felt like I heard my own footsteps echoing a fraction of a second too late or too early. I didn't dare turn around. After what must have been an hour, I came across something I didn't expect to see in the middle of nowhere. A trail camera. Hanging crooked from a tree. Old, sun-faded, covered in moss, but the LED light was blinking. Recording. I stepped closer. The small digital screen flickered, lines of static scrambling the picture. Then the image stabilized. It was a video of me walking toward the camera. Right now. Wearing the same clothes, same backpack, same confused look, except I wasn't looking ahead. The version of me on the screen kept glancing behind himself, eyes wide, lip trembling like he was about to cry. I turned slowly, terrified of what I might see. But there was nothing there. I looked back at the screen. The other me was now much closer to the camera, whispering something I couldn't hear through the static. His eyes weren't just scared, they were pleading, desperate. The screen glitched. Suddenly his face filled the entire frame, and he mouthed the words, "Run." The camera powered off. I didn't think, I didn't look, I just ran. Branches snapped like bones under my feet, my lungs burned, my vision blurred. I don't know how long I ran, but the woods stretched forever, the same trees repeating like a looping film reel. No matter how far I went, everything looked the same. Eventually I slowed, gasping. My legs trembled under me. I leaned on a tree to steady myself and felt something carved into the bark. I stepped back. It was a word, carved over and over, dozens of times. My name. I stumbled away from it, heart pounding, and that's when I heard the sound behind me. A second heartbeat, not matching mine. I froze. The heartbeat grew louder, closer, until it was right behind my ear, like someone was standing just inches from me, breathing, steady and slow. I felt warmth on the back of my neck, a presence. I didn't turn. Every instinct I had screamed not to. Instead, I forced myself to speak, barely able to push the words out. "What do you want?" For a moment, the woods were completely still. Then a voice, my voice, spoke from right behind me, perfectly calm.
to show you." Every hair on my body stood on end. I finally spun around, ready to fight or scream or bolt. But there was nothing. No one. Only the woods. Quiet. Watching. The moment stretched, then I realized something far worse. The footprints I'd been following weren't on the ground anymore. They were on the tree bark, going upward. Like something had started walking on the trees. Like something had begun climbing. I backed away, feeling eyes on me from everywhere at once. The breath behind me returned, slow, steady, steady enough to sync with my own. The voice whispered again, now from somewhere above me. "You shouldn't have run." A shadow passed overhead, too fast to fully see, too silent to be human. I ducked instinctively, stumbling forward, and that's when I saw it. Another cabin. Not the one I'd escaped, a different one. Older. Rotting. Collapsing in the middle, but not abandoned. Not empty. Smoke drifted from the chimney. Thin, gray, oily, and the door, hanging crooked from one hinge, creaked open as if pushed from the inside. A voice came from within. A woman's voice. Soft, gentle, calling my name. Not screaming, not distressed, inviting. I should have turned around. I should have run until my legs gave out. But her voice had a pull, like a memory I couldn't place, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. Against every survival instinct, I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and something else, something metallic, the smell of old blood. The room was cluttered with objects, photographs, broken toys, bones arranged in deliberate patterns. But one thing stood out. A TV. A small, boxy CRT set buzzing with static. On top of it sat a VHS tape. No label. Just my fingerprint pressed into the dust. I didn't touch it. Not yet. The woman's voice came again from the hallway behind the TV. "You're late." My mouth went dry. Who are you?" She didn't answer. Instead, the TV clicked on by itself, and the screen flickered to life. It showed the cabin I had slept in, but not the empty version. The video showed me sleeping on the floor, and something crouched over my body. Something tall, wrong, something moving its head in sharp, bird-like snaps as it studied me. Something I had been completely unaware of. My breath caught. The thing, whatever it was, turned its head toward the camera as if sensing it. The face, blurred and stretched, began to sharpen. Resolve. Focus. And it was mine. The same face from the trail camera. The same eyes. The same mouth. Except smiling. The smile grew too wide for skin and bone. Then it whispered, "He's almost there." Something shifted behind me. Slow. Heavy. Footsteps. Coming down the hallway. I turned my head just enough to see the edge of a silhouette emerging. Too tall, too long, moving like it had too many joints, and wearing my clothes. My voice whispered right next to my ear, "Don't turn around." I didn't move. I didn't breathe, not at first. The voice that whispered behind me, my voice, but stretched too thin, sharpened too precisely,
held me frozen like an insect pinned to a board. I could feel the air shifting around my neck, warm and humid, as if whoever or whatever stood behind me leaned in with deliberate slowness, savoring the moment. My instinct screamed to run, to turn, to fight, to do anything except stand there and wait. But something deeper, older, wired into the very base of my spine kept me still. Some ancient human fear that knew turning around was the worst thing I could do. A cold fingertip brushed the back of my neck. Just once. I flinched, hard. A soft laugh. My laugh echoed against the wooden walls. "You always were curious," the voice murmured, "even when you shouldn't be." Slowly, deliberately, the silhouette behind me stepped closer. I didn't see it. I felt it. Its presence like a weight pressing down on my bones, bending the air around me. The television in front of me flickered. The image warped. The version of me on the screen smiled wider, like it could see what was happening in real time. I had to move. I forced my body to obey, took one step toward the TV, and the entire cabin trembled, floorboards groaning, walls rattling as if something enormous had shifted its weight above us. The voice behind me sighed. "You shouldn't have done that." Before I could react, a hand clamped down on my shoulder, the grip cold enough to make my muscles spasm. My vision blurred at the edges. Every instinct I had roared at once, and I jerked forward, breaking free just enough to stumble toward the TV. The tape stuttered. The image rewound itself. And then I saw something I hadn't seen before. A door. Behind the crouched, smiling version of me in the video, a door slowly opened. A dark, narrow passageway stretched beyond it, lined with tree branches, roots, and something else. Something smooth, something pale. A tunnel. My tunnel, the same tunnel I'd seen outside the cabin, carved into the woods like a natural throat waiting to swallow something. The version of me on the screen pointed at the door, then at me. I didn't have time to understand what it meant because the tall, wrong silhouette behind me moved fast, too fast. I heard the shift of weight, like someone stepping forward without touching the floor, followed by a soft, rattling inhale. It was about to grab me. I lunged for the VHS tape. The moment my fingers brushed it, the cabin lights, if they were ever really lights, flashed violently. The entire room stretched, warped, bending in impossible angles. My ears rang, my stomach flipped, reality folded inward like I had been yanked into a whirlpool made of static and darkness. And then, silence. When my vision cleared, I wasn't in the cabin anymore. Not fully, not exactly. I was standing in the hallway behind the TV, the same one the woman's voice had come from. Except the walls weren't wood anymore. They were roots, interwoven branches, packed dirt. No, not dirt. Something softer. Something that felt like it could pulse if you pressed your hand against it. The air smelled damp, metallic, old. I turned slowly. The TV flickered behind me, half buried in the root wall. The tape was gone. The screen showed the cabin that I had been in, but empty now, the door swinging open and closed like something had just left. I wasn't sure if I had stepped into the video, or if the video had stepped into me. A whisper echoed from deeper in the tunnel. My name. Soft. Familiar. The woman. She wasn't pleading. Not warning, not angry. She was calling me the way someone would call a child home for dinner. I moved forward even though every step felt like walking deeper into a mouth that might never let me out again. The tunnel tightened around me, my shoulders brushed the walls. Strange patterns carved into the earth seemed to pulse in the corner of my vision. Spirals, runes, shapes that hurt to look at directly. The whispering grew louder. It wasn't just the woman. Now there were two voices. Her and him. My voice. They overlapped, perfect harmonies of familiarity twisted into something predatory. "You came back," the woman breathed. "You always do," the other said, my voice, but older, more patient. I reached an open chamber and stopped. A lantern, or something shaped like a lantern, hung from the ceiling, glowing with a soft, sickly green light. The chamber floor was covered in old VHS tapes, hundreds of them, scattered in messy spirals. Some were cracked open, some melted, some fused to the dirt. In the center of the room stood the woman. Her face was blurred, like someone had smeared clay across it, but her body was unmistakably human, or had been once. Her posture was stiff, unnatural, joints bending a fraction too far. Her hair hung in long strands, dripping like it had been soaked in water that never dried. She tilted her head. "You found this place sooner than the last one did," she whispered. "The last one?" Her head twitched violently like a glitch in reality. "You don't need to worry about him anymore," she said. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "What do you want from me?" She stepped closer, not walking, just appearing slightly nearer each time the lantern flickered. "I don't want anything," she said calmly, "but he does." My body stiffened, the air chamber shifted, something behind me moved, slowly, heavy, too familiar. I didn't turn, not yet. The woman's blurred face leaned just inches from mine. "He followed you," she whispered, "across the forest, across the cameras, across the tapes." She reached out a hand and gently touched my cheek with cold fingers. "He's not your shadow. He's not your double." Her voice lowered to a trembling whisper. "He's the version of you that survived here." My heart slammed against my ribs. No, that couldn't be. A hand, my hand, fell on my shoulder from behind. "I tried to warn you," my voice said. I turned despite every warning, every instinct, every whisper telling me not to.
I saw him. Me. But starved. Changed. Stretched. Like a human shape pulled too thin and forced to keep walking anyway. His face was almost mine, but hollowed, sharpened, eyes sunk deep into the skull. His jaw hung at a slightly wrong angle. His skin looked dry and cracked, like bark growing over bone. But the worst part? His expression. He wasn't angry. He wasn't predatory. He was relieved. "I needed you to come back," he said, voice trembling. "I needed you to finish what I couldn't." The woman drifted beside him, her blurred face turning toward me. "He was the first to find the tapes," she whispered, "but he wasn't strong enough to carry them out." The creature, my reflection, touched his own chest. "I survived, but not enough to leave." He stepped closer. "And now you're here." I backed away. "No, I'm not taking your place." The woman laughed softly, a distorted, echoing sound. "You already are," she said. The chamber walls shifted, the exit sealed itself, roots weaving together like ribs closing around a heart. My double reached toward me, but not to attack. To hand me something. A VHS tape. The label, written in shaky handwriting, read, "The last recording." I didn't want it. I didn't want anything to do with this, but the moment I refused to take it, the entire chamber darkened. Something writhed in the shadows, something huge. The woman's voice sharpened. "Take it!" My double's eyes pleaded with me.
"Please," he said, "you have to finish what I couldn't." My hand moved on its own. The moment I touched the tape, the world collapsed. I wasn't in the tunnel anymore. I wasn't in the chamber. I wasn't anywhere real. Static filled my vision. My ears rang. A high-pitched tone drilled through my skull. I felt my body pulling apart, dissolving into noise, into images that weren't mine. Other people, other wanderers, other versions of me, all trapped in the tape, all screaming without sound. Then, silence. I gasped and opened my eyes. I was back in the first cabin, the one I'd slept in. Early morning light filtered through the boards again. My backpack sat beside me. Everything looked normal, like none of it ever happened. A soft click echoed behind me. I turned. The TV was on, a VHS tape inside it, label facing outward, the last recording. But the handwriting wasn't shaky anymore. It was my handwriting. My reflection flickered on the screen, smiling, relieved. "You made it out," he said. "Good." Then the smile faded. "But you know what comes next." I shook my head. "No, I'm leaving. I'm done with this." The reflection tilted its head. "You will," it agreed, "but not before you watch." The cabin door creaked open. Light poured in, and a familiar voice called from outside. My voice, except tired, raspy, scared. "Help, please." I froze. It was coming from the woods, from deep inside. My reflection nodded at me. "You found the tapes. Now someone has to find you." The TV shut off. The door slowly opened wider, and something took a step inside. Tall, thin, walking wrong, like a version of me that hadn't escaped yet. The lights flickered. The forest held its breath. And the last thing I heard, before everything went black, was my own voice whispering in the darkness. "Don't look behind you."